welcome to episode 13 of West End Talks. We are delighted to have today Adam Bailey, who some of you will know from the Book of Mormon in the West End, and more recently as well as Morgan in Dusty the Musical UK Tour. So welcome, Adam.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good.
Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here. It's a privilege to have such a wonderful star of both UK Tour and West End. So we'll get straight in to it, and we'll start the way every West End fan knows, and it's just what got you into performing arts.
It was probably actually my dad. My dad used to do loads of sports, and my dad always kind of encouraged a lot of extra curricular stuff, and I always loved to sing. Like, I always kind of had a natural voice. I used to sing along to the radio in the car. And then my dad said that I should kind of go up for amateur dramatics. He'd heard of a group in Cardiff, where I'm from. He'd heard of a group doing Oliver. So he kind of said to me, like, how would you feel about going up for this? You've got to do an audition, you've got to sing. And I was like, yeah, like, I loved all that kind of stuff. I loved, like, watching musicals. So I auditioned and got in. I played one of the ensemble boys, and yeah, it kind of all stemmed from there. I never really thought it was going to be a career until I was probably 17, 18 years old. Because I didn't have like a big dance background or anything like that. I was just kind of a singer, and I did every amateur show in my area. I did stuff at school. I did like all the amateur clubs. I was doing like 3 shows at the same time whilst also juggling school and homework. And so it just kind of became this passion of mine. And yeah, it was when I was about 17, 18, I kind of went, okay, I see other people doing this as a career, so maybe I should see how that goes. And I'm still here.
The rest is history, as they say.
Here we are.
I think we'll get into some of the history of your career. We'll move on. Obviously, we don't hold any responsibility over the next set of questions. These are all from your fans and fans of the shows that you've done.
Okay.
So we hold no responsibility. There's nothing bad. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about that.
I'm really nervous.
Don't worry. Your first question comes from Jack, and he asks, was Book of Mormon a dream to be your first West End debut?
Yeah, Mormon was always a dream show of mine, and Elder Price was always a dream role that, oh, I love that. Me and lovely Tom. So yeah, it was something I auditioned for really. I think I was still in college the first time I auditioned for it, and it was the original cast. It was, I'd heard the Broadway cast recording, I knew it was coming over, I was still in training and about to graduate, and I went up for it and didn't have a clue what I was doing. I absolutely was not ready to be part of this mammoth show. But I got down a few rounds. I think I did about 7 rounds, then got cut, and then they were still looking for people, and I got brought back and did another 7 rounds, and then got cut again. But actually, it was for the best. Like, there was no way I would have been ready for it. It's very, to cover Elder Price is a very high pressure job. It really takes a toll on your body, takes a toll on your voice, can take a toll mentally. So I'm really glad it came at this point in my career when I was ready for that kind of challenge. But yeah, it was definitely, it was always a dream that I didn't really think was going to happen. There I am. I mean, this is the third time I've auditioned for it, actually. And I'd been in finals for it once before, not got it. And then this was just one of those times the stars aligned, and yeah, I got to do it.
It's one of the biggest male leads. Obviously, you and Tom, you and Elder Cunningham are the leads of the show, but it's one of the biggest male leads currently in the West End.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt.
It's a humongous role and a humongous sing. It's so challenging. And I've been singing my whole life, and it's a monster. Like, if you wake up with a cold, you can't sing it, like, which is quite frustrating at times, because you want to be there, you want to be giving your 100 all the time. And obviously I don't play the role 100% of the time it's played by Dom Simpson, and I'm the first cover. So if Dom is sick or on holiday, I go in. But I'm also a swing, so I wait backstage and I cover all the ensemble roles. I cover Mission President and I cover Elder Price. So I'm constantly flipping between all these different roles, and vocally I'm up and I'm down and I'm all around, and they all have their own harmonies. So no two tracks are the same. So yeah, it's tough, but it's a privilege to be part of such a brilliant show and a fantastic company. Sonia Friedman is just one of the best producers around.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think no disrespect to the leads or anything like that, but I think a swing is very underrated, or is that the right word? Underappreciated, because they have so many, like, they have to step into so many roles. Like the leads, like for example in this case Tom Simpson and Tom Zander, not taking anything away from them because they're spectacular, but they only need to learn one part. Swings need to know, as you said, 4, 5, 6, maybe more parts in some musicals.
Yeah,
so
I cover 8 or 9.
Yeah, so there we go.
It's and I've never been a swing before. I've covered a couple of times, but I've been lucky enough throughout my career to play leads, which has been fantastic. But honestly, it's chalk and cheese. Like, it's a completely different discipline, because the challenges that Tom and Dom face are that they have to be there consistently at this same level every single show. Whereas there are some shows where I'm not performing and I'm sat in my dressing room drinking tea and trying to recover, and so it's and their voices are kind of rehearsed into this role, whereas mine, I can go 2 months without playing it, and then I do 12 on the trot, and so they're both completely different jobs, and both hard in their own way. I think swings in this industry can be underappreciated, but that's mostly because of ignorance. Like, a lot of people don't really understand what it is. My parents have even kind of said, like, if I wasn't performing on a certain night, they'll say, "Oh, do you still need to go in?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm there every day. We warm up. We're in our dressing room. We are going through our maps. Like, there's no knowing when someone's going to roll their ankle or someone's going to come off, they've lost their voice, and you may have 2.5 minutes to be in full costume, vocally warm, mic on, ready to go on. It literally happened to me this year. I was in rehearsals in London for a new cover I was doing this year, and then I had to go to Bristol within 2.5 hours, and then I was on stage by 7:45 playing Elder Price with a company I had never even met. Like, there's huge challenges, but also huge payoffs.
Yeah. So you've mentioned, actually, you've kind of briefly mentioned our next question. Emma and Elena, Elena, I think. Apologies if that name's not said right. But they both mentioned, and I asked you questions about said event back in January. Yeah. You obviously, as you mentioned, you got a call to go to Bristol within 3 hours' notice.
Yeah.
They both kind of asked the same sort of question. So they asked, is that the shortest you've ever been given? Shortest notice you've ever been given for that kind of event?
For that kind of event, yeah. Because I was meant to go on the tour for a week. It was June last year. There was a lot of sickness in the cast, and I was asked to go over for a week to be on standby. So there was no saying that I was going to be on stage, but they needed another Elder Price in the building in case whatever happened. And touring obviously brings a whole different bunch of challenges. Like, at least we have some sort of home comfort, and like, we've got all our things around us. Like, touring is really hard. And yeah, it just so happened that last year in June, the office rang me and they said, right, we need you to go to, where were they? Manchester. We need you to go to Manchester for the week. And it was over my birthday. And then the day before I leave, Dom Simpson gets sick. So I then became Elder Price in town for a week, 10 days. So I then eventually couldn't go. But I had warning about that. Like, I knew I was going to Manchester. I knew I'd be there. And it ended up not happening. But this was the first time that's happened where I had to travel from London to Bristol. I had to be on a train from Paddington. I was at the Prince of Wales Theatre rehearsing, and they literally said, like, you have to be on a train in 45 minutes from Paddington. And I had nothing with me. I didn't have a toothbrush or underwear or anything. I was in rehearsal trackies, like it. So it's not the shortest notice I've had to be on stage. Like, there's been, mid-show swap outs and all that kind of thing. But this is the first time where it's been like, you have to travel the country in this set amount of time, and you may perform and you may not. And it turned out that I was performing within 20 minutes of being there.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I got to the stage door at 7:28.
And you were on the stage literally 15 minutes later.
7:45, 7:50, I was playing Elder Price. It was very strange, very stressful.
So, wow. That's commitment, and that's the reason why you're a superstar, Adam. Definitely. So they also asked, I think it was Emma that asked this one, do you like having that shorter notice, or do you find that a bit daunting? Like, do you live off the adrenaline, or?
There's pros and cons to both. I'm a bit of a worrier. I've suffered with anxiety for a lot of my life, and if I am given a lot of notice, it kind of gives my brain the time to plan all these terrible things that could happen, to all the things that could go wrong. I'm always kind of looking to the future going, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Which is a hard part of anxiety and dealing with that kind of mental health part of everything. But then at the same time, I think I'm kind of good under pressure. If someone kind of says, well, for an example, when I was doing my exams back in high school, it kind of, I'd have all this notice, like, your GCSEs are going to be on this date, and I would find myself revising the night before, because there's something about that kind of, like, this has to be done tonight, that my brain is good at handling. I can kind of switch on and work and get things done. So I'm lucky that I have that kind of brain, I guess, which I didn't really know I had until last year, starting as swing first cover.
No, I second that one. I've got sort of same sort of brain when it comes to that kind of thing. If it has to do something, if you get a have to, then it works better.
Yeah,
definitely. So moving on slightly, Kane asks, obviously in Book of Mormon, it has probably one of the biggest male 11 o'clock numbers in musical history, with the song I Believe. Yeah. Obviously, vocally, I don't know much about vocals. I'm not a singer or anything, but from the audience, vocally, it's fantastic. Like, some of the notes that Elder Price can hit, no matter who's playing them, it's fantastic. Genuinely, like, fantastic. So he wants to know, is it possible for you to record I Believe and put it on socials for your fans?
It's not. We're not allowed. Everything is copyrighted, and especially with something like Book of Mormon, it can be really tricky with a lot of things. Whenever we raise money for charity, if we want to do something from the cast point of view rather than producer's point of view, we have to ask the producers for the rights to use, like, the Book of Mormon logo and to show the costumes, and there's very strict rules in place. Otherwise, I would. But I mean, in this day and age, I'm sure there's going to be recordings out there somewhere. Someone will have one.
I'm sure there'll be something from.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not allowed. Sorry.
That's fine. He's got his answer. So. Moving on slightly, I'll go back to the logo. I'll take this one off because we're changing to another one of the shows you've done, but we don't have a photo of that, unfortunately. So Simon mentions one of the first things you did, certainly in London, that we can find anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in one of the UK's first productions of Bear.
Yes.
Yes, that's gone back a few years. You saw your brain kind of go, yes.
Yeah, I think that was my third show since graduating. My third, production.
You played Alan, an undercover Peter.
Yes.
So what he wants to know, we've actually spoke to 2 Peters already. We did 2 talks already with people from Bear. We did Michael, who was in the original Bear.
Yeah.
He played Peter, and we did Daniel, who was in the Vault. So we've kind of moved on with Bear. So it's great how we're getting all this cast. I love Bear. Like, Bear is genuinely one of the best musicals I've ever seen. But the reason Simon brings it up is he wants to know what it's like bringing such a true-to-life LGBT story to the stage.
It was really special. I remember you carry parts of shows with you, and the whole process of Bear was, I remember it being really emotional. I remember making those friends and really feeling like we'd made a special connection. And yeah, I remember this one rehearsal where we were being directed for the funeral scene at the end. Spoiler alert, there's a funeral scene at the end. And yeah, we did like a whole day on the funeral scene. And I remember crying so much in the rehearsal that I had a migraine that night. I was exhausted, I was drained, I was dehydrated. And yeah, that was just rehearsals. I remember crying. I literally think I cried every single show. And because it does hit home as a part of the LGBT community. It was one of those shows that I knew was coming around, and I knew it had already happened and they were bringing it back. And I wasn't available for the first one, didn't audition for it or anything. But then when I heard it was coming back, I was like, I really want to be part of the show. And I was so fortunate to get it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people wanted to do it. But it's a very special thing to play an LGBT character in any sense, especially in a career like this, where it can be very tricky casting-wise. They never want you to be too effeminate, and you kind of have to play down a lot of your characteristics for certain things. Like if I was going in the room for Fiyero in Wicked, I can't be overly camp, and I can't be certain things they'll kind of, you just wouldn't do because they wouldn't lend themselves to that role. Whereas when you're doing something as a gay man, when you're doing something with that kind of storyline, it's kind of like it's so beautiful to be able to bring those parts of you out in this career and celebrate them, and know that people in the audience will be touched and will find this as special as you find it. It's really one of the reasons why Bear is such a special show to me and has such a place in my heart even today. And it was 6 years ago? I have no idea.
2013.
Bloody hell.
There you go, 2013. It was on at Greenwich in 2013.
Yeah.
I've done my research.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to play a lot of LGBT characters. I was in the London revival of Taboo. That was my first job out of college, where I played Boy George's best friend, Marilyn. I played Felicia and Priscilla. In Dusty,
that one.
Sure. In Dusty, my character was gay as well. And so I've been really lucky to play a lot of straight parts, a lot of gay parts, a lot of other things, cats, trains, varied.
You've mentioned a lot of the things we're coming to. We'll touch on a lot of them later. First one, so I know definitely Bear is a fantastic musical, especially as it's a non-stereotypical LGBT character. And by that I mean, I don't mean like there's nothing wrong with the stereotypical characters, but Peter and Jason, to a certain extent as well, are both just normal people. Normal's not the right word, I know, but they're not they're not Felicia. Put it that way. Felicia's a great character, but she's not. That's who you would stereotypically put as a gay character. Somebody that's in drag, but there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything at all wrong with people that do drag, because I would love to do drag. I just don't have the body for it.
Drag is all bodies. Drag is
all
shapes, sizes, everything. Anyone can do drag.
We'll come back to the dragon later. But Kat, she mentions you're an international star. with performances in places. You ready for this? She's named some of the places she's performed in. So you're an international star with performances in places like Slovenia,
Yeah.
South Korea,
Yeah.
which we'll come back to when we talk about what you did in South Korea,
Uh-huh.
but more notably, Bochum.
Bochum.
Now, Bochum, sorry, that's my pronunciation. It's my pronunciation, I'm rubbish at German. But for anyone that doesn't know, Bochum or Bochum or however you pronounce it, is world famous for being the international hub, I would say, for Starlight Express,
Yeah.
the musical. Now, you were in Starlight Express in Germany, so the most iconic, obviously it was on the West End, it's been touring, it's everything, but Germany is like the London Palladium for Starlight Express.
Yeah.
It's the pinnacle. It's a fantastic career. Eileen Phillips was involved, and certainly when you were there, she was involved. So what was it like, Kat wants to know, to be involved in the most iconic production of Starlight Express?
I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here, but before I did Starlight Express, I didn't really know it. And that is very interesting to me, because when I then got the chance to do it, and when I saw it for the first time, so when you arrive, they fly us all out, and the day before you start skate school, you watch the show. And I was watching this thing and I felt like I was on drugs or something. I was like, what is everyone doing? Why are they jumping over people wearing roller skates? Like, this is madness. So I hadn't grown up with things like Starlight Express. For some reason, it was just not on my radar. As much as something like Cats was. Because Cats, I remember I used to watch at my nan's house on a VHS, because she didn't have many videos, but that was one of them. So I was introduced to that kind of iconic musical, but Starlight Express, for some reason, just bypassed me completely. So when I went up for it, I didn't know much about it. I didn't know much about the production in Germany. I didn't really know about the characters. And I just did this audition. And I remember thinking it went really well. I was doing Chicago at Leicester Curve at the time, and I was kind of going back and forth on the train and auditioning while I was doing rehearsals, and it was all a bit of a juggling thing. So my full focus wasn't really on it. And then you kind of get that call and you say, hey, they've offered you Starlight Express. And you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah. And I was in tech for Chicago, and I was already being offered something else, and my focus was not there at all. But it was the first job that was a long contract that was being offered to me, because Taboo was about 9 months, Bear was short, Greece was short, Chicago was Christmas season, and I really wanted that first long contract. I needed someone to take a chance on me. And one person who's always championed me throughout this is Debbie O'Brien. Debbie O'Brien is an incredible casting director, and she's given me a lot of opportunities, and she's seen me for everything. Even if I'm not right for it, Debbie will get me in for it. She's fantastic. She's just so wonderful. So yeah, to be able to go and do Starlight Express without really knowing about it, and then watching it with fresh eyes and going, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this. It was so eye-opening and completely mad. And it wasn't until I was in Germany that I realized what I was a part of. I realized I was part of this iconic, just incredible musical. And it's quite kitsch, and it's 80s, and people kind of can poke fun at it, the same as they do at things like Cats, because the storyline isn't quite there. But there is no show that feels like such a massive tick for me than Starlight Express. It's like I conquered fears, I overcame things I never thought I would face. When I played Electra, I had to come down a 50-foot ramp to begin AC/DC. It was just mad. It was completely mad. And it was one of the craziest experiences of my life.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons you mentioned there about not growing up on Starlight, I think it's because it's not done very often in the UK, because there's not many theatres that host it.
Yeah, Yeah. Because the production in Germany has the full races. So the UK tour productions, they kind of bring down a screen and they do the races on the screen. Whereas this, we are fully speed skating around a track around the audience. The adrenaline is like nothing else, and that translates to the audience, and they love it.
Yeah, it's one of my musical, but it's definitely my musical bucket list. I want to go to Germany and just watch a performance of Starlight Express. It's definitely like when you were sitting there on your first time watching it. What was going through your head? Like, was it why am I doing this? Like, what have I signed myself up for? Or
it wasn't that. It was like I was so tired. I remember being so tired when we got there because you have to pack up your whole life and move to Germany. So, I packed all my suitcases and we'd been out the night before to kind of say goodbye to all my friends. So I remember we were like in some bar until like 3 a.m. and then got on this flight and were watching a show on probably 5 hours sleep, having just like packed up and said goodbye to everyone. So very like emotionally drained. Travel drains you, and my brain couldn't comprehend it. I had no idea what I was watching. I was like, is this a trick? Like, do they do this with like? This can't be what I'll be doing. And like you see, there's like certain tracks in the show which do the tricks. Like they're on inline skates and they like jump up all these bowls and blah blah. And I was like, am I doing that? What's that? And all these people are like coming down over the bowl. The bowl is like a big like ramp. And my brain just couldn't comprehend it. But I've always been of the school of thought that if someone else can do it, then I can do it. Because, yeah, I mean, there's obviously certain things that are going to be more challenging than others, and there's certain things that I'm going to be less suited to than others. But I've been saying a lot. I've been moving house at the moment, and the place I bought was a bit of a fixer-upper, so I relayed brand new wood floors, and everyone was kind of going, "You're laying the floors yourself? You're not getting someone in to do that?" I was like, "If someone else can do it, I can do it." There's a YouTube tutorial for everything. So, hey, the floors are laid, and there's no big dramas yet. Come back to me in a year, and I'll let you know if it's still there.
Less in a year.
Yeah, oh God, they'll be like this.
You'll be needing the skates.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a crazy experience, and I didn't really know what I was watching. But when I then started to learn how to skate from the master of skating himself, Michael Fraley, who is just the most incredible human ever. It was just beyond amazing.
No, definitely, it's a fantastic performance. I saw it on tour years and years ago,
right.
And I couldn't even if I wanted to perform it, I wouldn't go anywhere near Starlight. Vocally, it's a great, like even the songs are fantastic. Like you compared it to Cats, but I think Starlight has a story. Like Cats has no story, whereas Starlight at least has.
Cats does have a story, but Cats' story doesn't come across the way the Starlight one does.
Yeah.
So like from being in Cats myself, when you rehearse Cats, everything is so meticulous. There is a story behind everything. There's a story behind every single look between Cats, but it's not, because it's like based on poetry and it's way more kind of fluid, whereas like Starlight Express is steam train, doesn't get on with these other two, they fight, they race, in the end this guy wins and gets the girl. So it's very kind of story arc, whereas Cats can be very confusing. Yeah, but it's based on poetry, so it's completely different. And the thing about Cats, the thing that draws people in, is the way we adapt our bodies to be able to replicate animals, like to be feline, and the costumes are incredible, the set is incredible, and the amount of work that we put into it to, turn our human bodies into something that resembles a cat. That is the thing that, takes people to see Cats, whereas Starlight is a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, definitely. So Colin wants to know, what was it like the first time stepping, or should he say rolling out onto stage?
fear, like you wouldn't believe, anxiety, but also there comes a point in skate school where you realize you've probably fallen 200 times, 300 times before you even open the show. You just fall constantly. And you also realize that everyone on that stage will fall, because it's not scientifically really possible, especially when you first start. Your muscles haven't got used to the kind of thing they need to get used to, and that kind of, if you're going, you need to be able to catch yourself, and if you fall, you need to be able to get back up, and that comes with time. But your opening show, everyone's going to fall. Everyone's going to fall. So you kind of go, okay, you set your mind at ease, because it's inevitable. You're just trying to get through from A to B. Get from the start, get from rolling stock to light at the end of the tunnel, get off stage, go home, drink a beer. Like, it's mental. And I did fall a lot. But yeah, that first time was a huge sense of achievement and even more fear.
Yeah, I can imagine. Can understand that, yeah.
Yeah.
So Maria, she's from Germany, and she's seen the production over 300 times. And Bochum or Bochum, or however you pronounce the name, with over 50 times she saw it with you in it.
Wow.
She thinks.
Okay.
She can't calculate that completely, she said, but she thinks it was over 50 times with you in it.
Yeah.
So she wants to know, was there anything that interesting happened when performing on roller skates? So not just falling over, not just the usual falling over, anything. There might not be, there might be nothing.
There was a lot of interesting things that happened. From the stage point of view, there was some very interesting kind of moments, like, to talk about falls. Obviously, we fall all the time, but there was some very badly timed falls on my part. For instance, when I was playing Rusty, and the end of race 4, Rusty wins race 4, and then goes over the bowl and through the finish line. Everyone cheers, he goes around, goes off stage. I won the race, came over the bowl, hit the deck, and everyone went past me. So actually I didn't really win the race. So then the story doesn't really make sense. And then I winded myself, skated around off stage, and then you have about 4 minutes until you have to sing the duet with Pearl. And I still hadn't got my breath back. So I remember singing, not being able to breathe, and just kind of going, well, get through it.
I don't know much about singing, but I take it you have to be able to breathe to sing. Yeah. I took it that. I thought that was common sense, yeah. Okay. That would have been interesting to listen to, yes. Yeah, here's Rusty singing with no breath.
Yeah, there was another time as Rusty, because I never fell as Electra. I never, ever fell.
This is Electra here, isn't it?
And weirdly, I never, ever fell as Electra, and I don't really know why. Well, he has very...
He kept you up.
Maybe. Skates. He has like stickier skates. They're red, and they're like rubber, and they stick to the track. Whereas the other ones all have black skates, and they were not that sticky. So that's the only thing I can ever think of. But also my stance, my posture as Electra was very different. It was very kind of upright, chest out, whereas Rusty was all kind of like a bit low and a bit grounded, and Greaseball was all kind of big and a bit more jagged. But yeah, I never fell as Electra, and I had some cracking falls as Rusty and Greaseball. But Rusty were the most memorable ones.
I love that, with some cracking falls.
So pre-race 4, which is like you walk up the track right to the top of the set, like, so you're basically on the ceiling and you're singing these big top C's, and I was walking up, singing Erde Wasser Luft Feuer, fall flat on my bum, spotlight, everyone else is frozen in blackness, I'm in the spotlight, fall flat on my bum while singing. Yeah, it was
the show must go on. You just continue.
And the show
as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
As if it was part of the show.
Yeah.
Definitely. So moving back closer to home, over 2015, 2016, you went on a very camp journey, and probably one of the most campest musicals I have ever seen, and that's not a bad thing about it. It's fantastic. I'm currently hiding you, but there you are.
That's me.
There's you as Felicia, and as Felicia and / Adam. Probably one of the best musicals because you didn't have to change your name. So they just, if somebody shouted Adam, you're going, are you actually talking to me or are you talking to the character?
Yeah. What do you want?
Like, who do you want? But so we've got a few questions about being in Priscilla. Fantastic musical, I've got to say. As a gay man, it's just, as anyone, straight, gay, bisexual, no matter what. My father, who he's no way homophobic at all, but he's not into me being camp, but he went and he loved it. Right? My mother was a Jason Donovan fan, so she had to come and see it. Like I don't go into a musical because of celebrities, but my mother's a Jason Donovan fan, so she had to go and see it. So no, you were in. Yeah, that is the program. Just some publicity. Obviously, Priscilla. You played, as we say, Felicia and Adam. So Daniel wants to know. First question off the bat is, what's your favourite song from Priscilla? Because it's obviously a jukebox musical. For anyone that hasn't seen it, there's not. I don't think there's an original song. Is there? Is there?
No.
I think they're all jukebox. They're all famous songs.
They're all they're jukebox and they are adapted. So like they are not necessarily exactly as you.
No.
Before. My favourite song.
A tough one.
Really tough. My favourite. Okay, I have to split it in two. My favourite song of Felicia's.
Yeah.
Was. It's either Venus, because it is just the best entrance there ever was. That's Venus there behind you. Or Hot Stuff, because Hot Stuff there's like a story that goes through the song, which I find so, I remember performing it every night and it would feel like I was being hit in the chest. That's kind of the only way I describe it. That's a bit weird. Because I have to, at the end of Hot Stuff, I get beaten up.
Yeah.
And I have to run in these huge pink heels. I'm like running right over the orchestra pit. So that was, acting-wise, my favourite part of the show. I just loved that part. Venus is just the best entrance ever. Like flying down from the sky with my angel wings and then ripping it all off and becoming this dominatrix. Just the best. That was my word. But actually my favourite song of the show I wasn't in, which is, I can't remember the name of it. It's the funeral at the beginning. Baby, my heart is full of love and it's out for you. Don't Leave Me This Way.
Yeah.
This way. So Don't Leave Me This Way, I was being flown up behind the set ready to come down for Venus. So I used to watch Don't Leave Me This Way like this. Look, I had this big red wig on, and I would just watch everyone being amazing. And it's so fantastically, brilliantly choreographed. It's, everyone in their camp and gorgeous blacks, and everyone's different and dressed in all these different variations of a funeral black, with their umbrellas. And it is just the best scene ever. And I'm so glad that I got to watch it, even if it was from above every night. I loved it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I just love it all. I love Colour My World, because it's just one of the campest songs ever. Because she's up of the painting Priscilla. So what? I went to see it that year. I went to see it with my gran. Took my gran to see it, and she loves musicals the same as me. It took her out a bit to get into who. So she kept saying, "So who's Priscilla?" At the interval, she kept saying, "But there's not a character called Priscilla, Gran. Priscilla's the boss." Priscilla is the boss
The
for the minivan. She went, what is it? I'm like, have you been watching the same show?
Yes, I even say in the beginning, Priscilla, queen of the
Well, she couldn't. She obviously didn't click that. She's like, so who's Priscilla? She says, it's Tank and Felicia, and she understood all the drag queens' names and all the rest of it. But no, she was like, who's Priscilla? Is this another character that's still to come into it? I'm like, man, Priscilla's the boss. It doesn't actually have any lines. But anyway, I love her dearly. She's she's great. But Jason wants to know, and unfortunately not Jason Donovan. As soon as I saw his name come in, I'm like, oh, is it Jason Donovan? No, unfortunately not.
Probably not.
Did you enjoy being a drag queen every night?
Yes, and this is actually going to go back to something you said earlier about how Felicia is like a big camp role, big camp drag, flashy sequins. I did enjoy being a drag queen, but that is not the thing I loved about Felicia. The thing I loved about Felicia and the show is being able to flesh out the real through line of Felicia, because to someone who like goes and watches Priscilla for the first time, I remember feeling this way when I watched it when it was in town. It was my first or second year of training, and I went and saw it. I came out of Act 1 and kind of went, meh, it's a bit kind of glitter for glitter's sake, and there's feathers everywhere, and I'm not really getting much meat from it. And then I went back in for Act 2, and I loved it, because there's a lot more that kind of happens in Act 2, especially with Felicia's character. So when I got Felicia, when I was auditioning for Felicia, it was very interesting to me that my main objective was to take this character who on paper is not likable. She is very bitchy, she says some really horrible things, lots of quippy one-liners, it comes across arrogant, is that there has to be a reality to her. There has to be a humanness inside her, and that was my favourite part of that show for the entire year, is finding those things where she might say something quippy and horrible and nasty and bitchy and catty, but you have to have the glint in your eye. You have to have the likability to be able to pull that off and to take people with you on your story, because otherwise no one cares. If someone's horrible and just like horrible, 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 and then something bad happens to them, they're going to go, well, you deserved it. Whereas when Felicia gets beaten up and you realize that she's got all this trauma and all this hurt from years of, history, that the audience have to be on your side. And the only way to do that is to make her real, bring her off this like catty, bitchy, shady queen on the page and ask why she's doing all those things. That was my favorite part about Priscilla. So yeah, I loved being a drag queen. I'd never done drag until this point, apart from in shows. So I played a drag queen in Taboo. I then played Mary Sunshine in Chicago. And then this was kind of my third time doing feminine presenting character. So yeah, I love the drag and I find all that very fun. But my favorite bit about it was taking apart all the glitter and sequins and feathers and what people think and what I thought Priscilla was, and finding the story, the meat of it. I just loved that. And I fell in love with that character and with that show.
I think, yeah. So finding the story behind Adam more than Felicia.
Yeah.
Although the reason for Felicia obviously comes into the story of Adam, but no, it's fantastic, and obviously, it is a. I said earlier about the campness, and it is camp. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's a camp, but it has got. I think it is Felicia and / Adam, and even down to like the Tink and mine's went blank with the other character. Who?
Bernadette.
Yeah, Bernadette. Sorry, mine went completely blank there. I was so ready for it. So Tink, Bernadette, and Felicia. So even the three of them, there are those people in the LGBT community. So like there are those types of people, and even down to Felicia's bitchiness. Like that is so right for some gay characters. Like there are some gay men out there that are so bitchy, it's unbelievable. So to say that Peter, like obviously talking earlier when we were talking about Peter, saying about that being a true to life LGBT story, which it is to a certain extent, 100%. But obviously this, to a certain extent as well, is a true life story.
Absolutely.
Okay, maybe the going an adventure around the outback is maybe a bit extreme as three drag queens, but it maybe did happen, we don't know. That had maybe happened. But the story of the people.
Yeah,
That's it, yeah. I'd love to do it. Like, if it means, I'll do it. If it means drag, I don't care. Like,
absolutely.
Let loose in the outback of Australia in a van, yes, please. Especially with you and Jason Donovan, that's not a problem. I'll do it. The three of us, we'll go.
Simon Green has to come as well. Simon Green is just my.
That's fine. We'll have Simon. So I'll be. Is it Bailey? I'll be the son. I'll be him. Because obviously you obviously worked with a kid in the show as well. There was the Tink's son, and obviously I think that also brought one of the most heartfelt moments in the show. With don't leave this, mate. Oh, I had it 2 seconds ago. Wait to find it. Always on my mind. Always on my mind at the end when he's in bed and the dad suddenly sings to him, and it's like, oh, yeah. So, but that's not. We'll move on because that's focusing on Jason, which is not important just now, or focusing on Tink. It's more about Adam Bailey. So Kevin asks if you were to do drag, so Adam Bailey, not Felicia, what would your drag name be?
Oh no! I never come up with a drag name, which is terrible, but I've never found anything that's like stuck. And I have done drag before. I haven't performed as myself, which seems weird. I've done drag in the shows I've mentioned, obviously. I've also performed with the group The Globe Girls, and done and been a singer for them. So I have kind of dabbled in drag. I also did Mad Drag last year, which is an incredible show and for an amazing organisation. So if you don't know about Mad Drag, go and find out about it. Go on Instagram and follow Mad Drag. So I've dabbled in drag. I haven't done a lot of it, and I don't have a name. But if you have any suggestions, please feel free to tell me. Get in my Instagram, get in my DMs, and give me a drag name because I've never been able to come up with a good one.
We'll have a think.
Yeah.
We'll have a think with End Talks and see what we can come up with. So moving on to, we've got 2 more roles that we to discuss, and then we'll go back a wee bit to become Mormon as well, to finish off. So one of the other roles, we have discussed it slightly already, but you went to South Korea. Yeah. With probably one of the most iconic directors out there. And Mandy asks, what was it like to work with Trevor Nunn in the iconic musical Cats? And then how was it taken in South Korea? So like, how was the reception?
So Trevor Nunn directed the show, but doesn't resurrect the productions. So we were actually taught the show by an incredible woman called Chrissy Cartwright. So Chrissy Cartwright was Gillian Lynn's kind of right-hand man, and she is just, I can't even explain the feeling she gives me when she was like teaching me this show and this role. There's something about her that you just want to do your best work, and her passion behind it and her attention to detail is unbelievable. So, I mean, Trevor Nunn is absolutely there in the spirit in the show, but he does not kind of put on the productions anymore. So yeah, Chrissy Cartwright was unbelievable. So that was amazing. I found Cats really difficult during rehearsals. I'd never done anything so specifically physical before. And this was kind of one of those shows where you go home from rehearsals and you cry. And not because things are terrible, but because there was times when I was just like, I'm out of my depth. I can't get my head around this. I can't make this 6'2" long and lanky body into a cat. Like, I can't do it. And it takes a long time. And I was also working with a lot of people who'd done the show before. So they were kind of leaps and bounds ahead of me. And I was learning from all of them and sponging off all of them. But I was just not. There was a point when I was not getting it. And I remember kind of going, oh, I don't want them to think they've made a mistake, because it was really important to me that I impressed in this role. This was a dream role of mine since I was a kid. And then I remember kind of going through that. We opened, we did our previews, and Chrissy Cartwright came back and watched our opening night, our press night, and then went home the next day, I think. And she kind of didn't really say anything to me, and I kind of thought, oh, I hope I haven't let her down, and I hope I'll continue to keep pushing myself. And then she came back right towards the end. We had like a note session with a couple of the creatives. She came back right towards the end, and she pulled me to one side, and I can't remember her exact wording, but she said something along the lines of, your Monkestrap is one of the best kind of characterizations I've seen of Monkestrap. And honestly, like, even thinking about it now, like, it makes me want to cry. Like, it took so much to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really hard on myself in rehearsals. This kind of show is tough, and it takes a big toll on your body, and there's a lot of injury. But when I finally kind of got that validation at the end, it was like, I did it. I impressed who I wanted to impress, and that was all I could ask for from that entire show. What was the second part of that question?
It was, how was it taken in South Korea for the audience?
The audience love this show. And one thing I'll say about the audience members from South Korea is they are the most kind, most respectful, and most generous people I've ever met. They're just wonderful. They're so accommodating and welcoming, and they bring us all these gifts, which after a while you feel really bad about. You're like, please, like, I'm just doing my job, and I don't want you to feel like every time you come and watch this you have to bring me something, because that's not why I do this. But they just want, you bring them so much happiness that they want to bring you the happiness in return. South Korea is a very special place, and I would love to go back there. Unfortunately, I'm not going back there this time. They're about to take cats back out there, and I'm not going with it because I am still in the Book of Mormon when it hopefully reopens again.
Not hopefully, it will.
It will. I don't know how and I don't know when, but it
will
will.
Open. It will, 100%.
It will.
Theatre will come back, without a doubt. We're here to help in the interim. Because literally what you said there about the South Korean audience is 100% why we're doing West End Talks. You give to us, so we want to give back. And we can't give back in the same way because I'm not a performer. Certainly some of the helpers like Robbie is, but I'm certainly not a performer. You do not want me on a stage. I can assure you of that. That's when the audience leave. So the next role that we're kind of going, we're going kind of chronologically a bit, is this one here. And the only picture I could actually find.
Yeah, there wasn't many pictures. It was a very short run. It was
a
tryout, and it was meant to kind of, we were preparing to go into the West End with it, and then it didn't happen. It was one of those things where we put all this work in, and it just didn't add up. Something didn't work, and unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere. But fortunately, it meant I could do book.
Yes, that's the thing. But Rebecca wants to know, because she saw the tour, and she wants to know, what was Dusty the musical like with so many big names in the show? So obviously you had yourself, for people that didn't see it, obviously you played Morgan, but you had the likes of Catherine Kingsley, who played Dusty. You had Rufus Hound, who played Billings, Roberta Taylor, who played Kay, and obviously Adair Evan Hansen, cast member now, Trisha Adele Turner, who is the alternative Dusty. So there was loads of others. The cast were fantastic, but obviously they were kind of big.
Beyond out of this world. One of the best ensembles I've ever worked with.
I unfortunately never got to see it because it never came close enough to me to make it worthwhile. I would have loved to, because I'm a massive Dusty Springfield fan, so I would have loved to have seen it. but unfortunately there was no way it wasn't financially or timingly available for me, but I would have loved to have seen it. But so what was it like performing as Morgan in Dusty?
It was a really wonderful show, brilliantly constructed. It was a tough contract. It was one of those contracts that just, we were like trudging forward and kind of doing everything we could to push what we wanted from this show. And it just, there was things that were just against us, is the best way I can kind of describe it. I think we kind of got to a place in the end where we realized it wasn't going to go anywhere, and it was quite disheartening, because with a production like this where it was still being workshopped, and then we were we were the world premiere cast. Like, no one else had seen the show until we did it. So that was very special. But with that comes a lot of work. There's a lot of behind the scenes. Like, it's not just the show you watch every night. We were rehearsing all day and then doing the show. And then we'd get a script change, rehearse it, put it in that night. And then there would be a song that would be changed, rehearse it in the day, put it in at night. And it was very difficult, but also so creatively fulfilling and stimulating. Like, it was one of those things that I would never wish hadn't happened, because it taught me a lot. And the performances from some of those people, Kat Kingsley, I don't have words for her. She is a goddess. Just the most wonderful performer. Same with Trish, who is the alternate. Trish is just beyond. Rufus Hound, who played my boyfriend in the show, he's just the most wonderful man. We had the best time together, and we were just constantly making each other laugh, and he was a breath of fresh air to have around. He also took me out to the Ivy on my birthday. Because
like a real boyfriend would. Oh, that's lovely.
Because obviously we were playing romantic partners in this show, and it came around to my birthday. I think the day after our first preview was my birthday, and we had a really tough day in the theatre that day. The set wasn't working, and there was so much going wrong. It was like someone was just throwing all these rocks at us, and we were kind of battling our way through them. And Rufus said to me the night before, he was like, "It's your birthday tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm going to take you out." I was like, "Okay." I think we'd been for a drink, and we passed the Ivy, and he then came up to me and he was like, "I booked us a table at the Ivy for tomorrow for lunch." And I was just like, I love him so much. He's a wonderful human. So yeah, the whole production, the creative team, I loved performing, and I loved creating that production, that role. Wish it could have lasted a bit longer, and more people could have got to see how special some of those performances were. Like, that show is written for Kat Kingsley to get an Olivier Award. She's just beyond. So it was a shame to me that not enough people got to see her.
Yeah, well, I would have loved to see it without a doubt. Max wants to know, what was your favourite song in the show?
Favourite song?
Another tough one. I like to throw the tough ones out there.
It is tough because all the songs are amazing. It's Dusty Springfield.
Yeah. I can't even hear it because I never saw it, so I don't know in what context the songs were written, performed, or things. I know what songs were in it. I don't know.
I loved my song. I sang Middle of Nowhere. And I loved that. And I loved getting to create how I was going to do that, because we didn't really know what we were doing with the character, and it was still being worked on whilst I got the role. So there was like a name change. After I'd accepted the role, they changed his name and the song, and they didn't really know. There were lines being changed all the time, and they weren't really sure what was going on. And then I went in to the auditions and did a thick Welsh accent and played him a bit simple. And they were just like, yeah, that's it. And it was a happy accident. They kind of said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Cardiff. And they said, oh, can you try it in a Welsh accent? It's like, yeah. They were like, I was like, give me half an hour and I'll go to prep and like think through it with the script and then I'll come back. And they were like, yeah, fine. So then I went back and did it in a thick Welsh accent, and he was a bit of an airhead, a bit, all right, yeah, how's it going? Yeah, like, not really sure what's going on. Like, very, didn't know, he wasn't the smartest, and it was lovely. He was so, like, such an endearing little character.
Just a normal human for Wales then.
Hey! What,
sorry.
Endearing, yes, you're right.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I can't choose a favourite song. They're all my favourite. Dusty Springfield is just, the music is unbelievable.
Oh, she definitely is. Yeah, she was fantastic. So moving back to something slightly more familiar, back to the most recent production that you're currently in. We say currently, obviously the West End's in darkness at the moment, but as I said earlier, we will be back. Yeah. Without a doubt, the theatre will be back. In what context will be interesting to see, but the theatre will be back. So Connor, only a couple more questions for this. So Connor wants to know, what's your favourite song to perform in Book of Mormon?
My favourite song to perform. Ooh.
Now that obviously depends on what role you're playing, because that'll change, will it not?
Yeah, because my favourite song as Elder Price is All American Prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do freak out sometimes that I'm not going to remember the words because there's a lot of them. Yeah, but as ensemble, it would probably have to be Hello into 2x2.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That entire section is terrifying as a swing because everyone's different. Everyone's got a different thing to do. And sometimes you get on and you're just going, oh God, I hope I don't mess this up.
Actually, hello, it's like, how do people remember exactly where to be at the, I'm like...
It's a swings nightmare.
Oh, I can imagine, yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, but again, it's just brilliant. But actually my favourite number in the whole show, I don't perform, and that's the African pageant at the end when they're, I won't sing any of the words because they all get bleeped out. The Ugandan people are doing their performance at the end.
Yeah.
It still makes me laugh so much that I have to sometimes just cover my face to show that I'm not laughing. It's terrible. Terrible.
No, I 100%. I think obviously there's a lot. We can put a kind of warning at the start of it if we need to, because we're going to get into some discussions about the songs. So be free to what you say. I personally feel, I think from an audience point of view, watching it, Hasidiga Ibawai has to be, that must be a fun song to perform as well.
Oh, do you know what? That's my favourite song to perform. Not All American. My favourite song to perform in the show as Elder Price is Hasidiga Ibawai. Now, I don't even sing very much. I have like little lines. But my acting journey through that is so satisfying to me that I'm like watching these superstars around me performing. That's my favourite, by far.
Yeah, because the Elder Price obviously goes into that song loving it, and then obviously realises what Hasidiga Ibawai means, and then at the end it's kind of disgust, and you can't say that, and this, and there's so many songs. Like, I remember the very, very first time I ever saw it, I went in thinking, why do I ever want to come and see a musical about Mormons? Like, no disrespect to Mormons whatsoever, but why do I ever want to go and see a musical about Mormons? That's the first time my mum got me tickets, I think, for my birthday or my Christmas one year in London. I thought, why do I want to come and see a musical about Mormons? And I knew it had been sold out. I'm like, how is it possible? A musical about it? But then you see it, and I think the first time you ever see it, your mouth's like this for about 90% of the show, because obviously it's not one you bring your gran to. Somebody like, I remember one of the times, I've seen it quite a few times now, I do the lottery a lot, like the bingo thing that they do in the West End, do that a lot. So I'm in the front row quite a lot, because that's obviously where the seats sit. And that's about the only, unless you're booking in about 5 years in advance, it's about the only way you get tickets. So obviously, one of the first times I saw it from the lottery side, I actually sat next to a Mormon.
Oh.
And I'm like, do you know what you're here for?
They love it. They love it.
They do?
They come all the time. And then if we're doing like charity meet and greets out in the front, people will come up to us and say, hey, I'm from America, and I used to be a Mormon, and like, they love it. Yeah.
Well, I thought, we were talking earlier, the last chat we did was with Kristen Lavercombe, who's in Rocky Horror. Wow. And they obviously, they get a lot of protests and stuff because of the drag and the things like that. And I always thought Book of Mormon would, but it doesn't really have that bad a reputation. It has some
opposition.
Yeah, some opposition, but not. I thought there'd have been a lot more. That way, I just thought there'd have been a lot more than the gate.
It's the writing. The writing is too clever almost to find issue with it. It's that South Park humor.
There is a lot to take issues with, but not necessarily from the Mormon point of view. There's
a lot to take issue with, but the tone in which it is written and the way there's certain things that happen that like you don't like dwell on. So they always kind of talk about the difference between Family Guy humor and South Park humor, and they always kind of say, oh, that's a bit Family Guy for Mormon. They say, this is South Park, it's more this style than this style. And the thing about that is you say it and you go through it. Like there's no like kind of blah, 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 pause for laughter, because it's the wrong tone. It's like you, Hasatiga Ibawai, you say what it means and then you do a whole number about it. And it just plows through. And the humor comes from the good intention of the people saying it.
Yeah.
They're not meaning anything bad by it. That what they're meaning is what they're saying, and the way they are thinking it, they're not thinking of it in a bad way. So that's what is clever about it, is that you end up championing these things that are, if someone said to you in the street, you'd be like, that's terrible. But there's something about it that works. And it's just incredible. It's an incredible show. Incredible.
100%. So Jack wants to know, what song causes the most reaction from the audience that you've noticed from being on stage?
The African pageant. The pageant.
Imagine, yes, I can see that one. When they start, it's just talking about mission control and these characters from that Elvis Cunningham has come up with.
And like the fact that I still laugh, having been in it for a year and a half, going on 2 years, it still makes me laugh. That is testament to the show and the cast, who are just beyond excellent. That's the one that gets the most reaction, I think.
Certainly, yeah, I would probably agree with that from the times I've seen it, yeah. There's some shocking moments, like, it's very close to the edge, like, very close to the bone.
The edge and goes down the cliff.
Yeah.
But it's
every time I see it, a saying of Joey from Friends comes back about the line, that you're so far over the line, it's a dot to you.
You can't even see the line. The line's a dot to you, yeah.
That's how I see Book of Mormon. Like, it's so far past the line, it's like, nah, just, like, obviously there's obviously one line in it that really just makes it for me. I can't see it on camera, but the minute that gets said, I'm like, okay, the book's out the window. Like, the script's out the window now. They can say anything they want. But one question I've always wanted to ask somebody from the show, and I probably could have asked it stage door, but I wanted to always ask, is how much freedom does Elder Cunningham have when he's talking to the girl? So every time he calls her a different name,
So
how much freedom does he have over the names he calls her?
Yeah, every Elder Cunningham is encouraged to come up with their own things, and then the associate director will kind of weigh in and say, that works, that doesn't, have a play around with this. This word works very well in this scene if you want to use that. But a lot of them kind of take the cue from past Cunninghams, who've come up with great stuff, and there's some things that just hit it out of the park every time. So,
but one of the times I thought it was no deal Brexit.
Yes, that's been every night for a while, because Tom Zander does that one all the time.
I'm like, no deal Brexit. I'm like, yes, love it.
Yeah.
Obviously, slightly racist, but that's the point of the show as well. Kind of, it's obviously we're not being racist. It's just the show and the script, obviously. So Kaylee wants to know, just kind of finishing up a wee bit. Kaylee wants to know, what's the hardest role that you've covered in Book of Mormon? Kind of answered it, but
Elder Price, hands down. No, it's the hardest role I've ever covered in my entire life, not just in Mormon, in my entire career. Hardest role ever.
But fulfilling, I'm sure.
Fulfilling, absolutely. And something I've wanted to do forever, but yeah, the challenges are endless.
No, I can understand that. And just one final question from the fans before we go into our not so quick fire round. Damien, just wanted to ask a very quick one. Did you have as much fun during your Leave a Light concert as it looked like you were having with Scott?
Yeah, because we didn't rehearse anything. So everything was just as we are, but performing up to a camera. It was brilliant. Like, you know, there's something about me and Scott make each other laugh all the time anyway. So that's the best thing about our relationship. But to then kind of translate that into something that's being viewed by an outside viewer, that was just fun, like it, and easy. And we didn't even like time ourselves. I remember getting to the last song and it was exactly 45 minutes, which is what we were meant to do. And it was just like, oh, it just happened. It was, yeah. We were a bit drunk by the end, but like not really.
It was
I got my words at the point because I was just like, too much vodka.
No, nobody was complaining. It was for charity. It was a lot of fun. I certainly enjoyed the evening. That is definite. So that brings us to the end of the fans' questions. You can breathe a sigh of relief.
Thank you for sending in questions. Thank you.
There we go. So just a quick fire round now, or not so quick fire round as we like to call it. A couple of questions about Adam Bailey rather than the people you have played.
Okay.
We want to get to know about you and what you want to perform. The first role is, what would your dream role be that you haven't performed? So if there was minus age, race, anything like that, but just not gender, because we'll come to that.
This is hard. You get asked this a lot, but I don't have a lot of dream roles. I've been very fortunate to play a lot of the ones that I had wanted to. My dream roles were, at a time, Felicia, Monkstrap, Elder Price.
And you've done all three.
And Mary Sunshine.
So you've done all four.
So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to play those. There's a couple of things I haven't done that I would like to do. I would love to do, when I'm a bit older, I want to do Rocky Horror.
So see you as Frankenfurter.
Yeah, because I'm not like the right casting for Frankenfurter right now. I think Frank needs to be played by someone a bit older, a bit more fleshed out.
Liam Tamney did it.
Who?
Liam Tamney.
Yeah, but Liam Tamney's also a name. Liam Tamney's like done TV, and he has. Yeah,
well,
he's done TV and stuff. So he also just has that kind of. Liam Tamney is amazing. Like, his voice is beyond amazing, and he had a great presence. I saw him as it. He did a fantastic job. But if I was casting it personally, it would be someone a bit older. not to say I couldn't do it now, but I just don't think that I would be the first port of call for that kind of role. Whereas I think my age bracket now would be more Brad, and I would prefer to do Frank.
See, one role I would love to see you in is a Rocky.
Right.
But that we'll not go into that.
And let me tell you, I would not look good in those pants.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Especially since
what would your dream gender bend role be? And in that respect, I know you've done a lot of like drag queens and stuff, but we're talking a role that's specifically female, that's actually for a female.
Oh, these are tough.
That's why it's a not so quick fire round.
Oh, okay. It would be Lucille Frank from Parade.
Oh no, that's a good one. That is I love it.
Singing that, face melt. Yeah, I would do that.
That's a good one, right? Okay, they just get harder from here, I'm afraid. What is your favourite musical theatre song? Now, it doesn't have to be one that you've performed. It can be anyone you want. It can be one you've performed, but not necessarily.
My favourite musical theatre song. Oh my God, this is so tough. I'm gonna pick something really kind of people might think is really basic, but it has to be something from something like Wicked, because Wicked came out at a time that made all my generation want to do theatre. So, like, there's so many incredible songs in that show, and a lot of times I wouldn't be like, oh, what's your favourite musical? Wicked, because it's expected and kind of overplayed and overdone a bit, but the music in Wicked is just, it's what made us all want to be here.
Yeah, 100%. You can't beat Stephen Swartz.
Yeah. Yeah, anything from Wicked, sure, let's say that.
Okay. Last question is, what is your top 5 shows? Now, it doesn't have to be ones you've been in. I'm not looking for the 5 that you've been in. It can be the 5 you've been in, it doesn't matter. But what are the top 5 shows?
I'm not going to say things I've been in, I'm going to say things I've seen. My top 5 things I've seen, because that narrows things down. My top 5 things I've seen. Parade. I saw the one produced by Danielle Torrento. It was, I cried, I sobbed. It was perfect. Flowers for Mrs. Harris, which was at Sheffield Crucible. That was, wow. Matilda. I loved Matilda. So, like, when I think I've seen it twice now, but the first time I saw that, I was just like, this is the best thing in town. Like, it's amazing.
It's good, yeah.
Come From Away.
Yeah.
Amazing. And
you'd be good in Come From Away. Get you in as Kevin T. The gay lumber.
Yeah. And one more. I'm gonna say Priscilla.
Why not?
It's probably my favourite job I've ever done.
It's like going to GAY every night, isn't it? I'm sure that's what it'd be like going to GAY the whole life. Just so camp. Right, so that brings us to the last thing that we've got to do tonight, and that's, have you heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We're not going to ask you to pour ice over yourself, so you can relax slightly.
I know.
Oh, basically, the Ice Bucket Challenge, obviously, you did it and then you had to nominate somebody to do it next. So what we have started is the West End Talks nomination. So all we're asking you to do is, on this recording today, is to nominate somebody. It can be anyone from theatre that you want. It has to be somebody that you know, so that you've got a bit of you can coax them a bit to come in, because the whole point is to try and get them in to do a talk.
Okay.
Now, all we ask is once you've nominated them, is to go onto Twitter once you finish here and put up just a tweet just to say, just done my talk with Ed Talks. Now it's your turn, and it can be anyone you want.
Oh.
To try and help us get more folk in.
Okay, I'm going to nominate. Because of a lot of the shows we've mentioned, I'm going to nominate Amy DiBartolomeo.
Right.
She's one of my best friends in the world. And she's, well, before quarantine, she was playing Oz or Meat in We'll Rock You tour.
She was. I knew the name. Thank you.
She was in Priscilla with me, and then Priscilla after. She was in Starlight with me, and she's done incredible things. She's got the most amazing voice, and yeah, I nominate her.
That's great. So what else to do? Just tag her in a post then after this, and we'll try and get her in for a talk.
Sure.
That'd be really interesting. So, but that unfortunately brings us to the end. Adam, it's been an absolute privilege getting to know you, getting to ask the fans the questions. All that's left for you guys at home is just to remember that me and Adam aren't just here for fun. I'd surely like to hope we had fun, but we're not just. That's not the whole point in the thing. The point obviously is to raise money for Acting for Others. They do help the acting career, the whole theatre staff out the whole year round, not just at the moment, but more so at the moment, with obviously the West End, or all theatres, should I say, in darkness at the moment. They will be back, but at the moment we need to help us as much as we can. So anything at all you can afford, as little as you can, it would be much appreciated. The link will be in the bio below, so please donate what you can. And all that's left to say is tune in next time for episode 14, where we're going to have James Williams, who was one of the Jasons in Falsettos. So it's our first kid actor that we've got on. So that'll be really interesting to learn the West End from a kid's point of view. And that was at the other Palace last year. So join us then. But thank you very much, Adam. It's been an absolute privilege talking to you, and it's been great knowing you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Enjoy, David. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. Take care.
Bye.
Color my world with happiness all the way. Just take the green from the grass.